When it comes to the enlargement process, we often hear geostrategic, geo-economical reasons, geopolitical reasons, fatigue. We often hear actually the reasons as a part of enlargement, as a modeled, as a process of game of power. And it should not be a game of power. It's basically and substantially, enlargement should be defended and justified by the new narrative and wording that it's a part of collective European identity. It's a promise from the Paris Charter for a New Europe in 1990, saying that there is no Europe complete, stable, at peace and prosperous if it's not united from south to east, south to north, and east to west. So sometimes I would like to hear more value-based and identity-based, European identity-based narrative about the enlargement, except saying something about geopolitical reasons. Because if we continue to do that, you know what will happen? We will start to consider enlargement as a process where old member state or actual member states would like, on one hand, to maximize the profit from the expanding Europe, politically, economically, in terms of security, and to minimize the costs for the accepting new member states. And by the way, the whole of the Western Balkan GDP is less than 4% of total European GDP. And the total number and population of Western Balkan is less than Romania. So those things are sometimes very questionable when we hear this fatigue. You know, if you have fatigue, psychological fatigue, then your remedy should be to be curious, to be active, to read, to learn, to do something. If you have physical fatigue, then you should work out. You should do something if you have fatigue, not just saying and explaining about the fatigue. When it comes to new methodology, we accepted in Montenegro as well as already acceding country. Don't forget that Serbia and Montenegro, we are associated members. Associated countries, not members, associated countries, since we have signed as mandatory SAA agreement, Stabilization and Association Agreement, and it has been put in force in 2014. 2013. So that means that we are associated country, that we are, everything that we are introducing in our legal system from acquis communautaire is a part of our daily lives of our citizens. And when the problem occur, for example, migration, COVID or something like that, then we hear from European Union, oh, we are sharing the same destiny, we are living under the same sky, etc., etc. And when our citizens are not obliged or not invited to participate conference on the future of European Union, then it means that we don't share the same destiny. It's not only about the shortcuts. No one asks the shortcuts. We are asking for credibility, accountability, and predictability. Serbia, and I'm a minister for 7 years. Tanja Miščević knows that. She was chief of negotiation team while I became minister for EU integration. We are not interested to be second-rated member state. Why should some would like to be second-rated member state? Not to participate in any decision, not just to be a part of some never-ending process. So I really think that new methodology, and we accepted immediately, Serbia immediately, even we didn't know what is it about. No one told us how it will look like. But we immediately accepted, proving that we believe in good intentions of European Union and the best intentions for the, let's say, fostering the process, making more dynamism, etc. I just want to share something with you and, of course, all people here. Immediately, we have reshuffled all our structures. Negotiation team, Ministry for EU integration, in accordance with the criteria of new methodology. Now we have no chapters. We have chapters thematically, in a way, grouped in 6 clusters of joint common European policy. We have more political guidance in the process. President included himself, engaged himself, and Prime Minister in the area of rule of law, because this is the key issue now, and it was for Serbia as always. And by the way, we accepted that rule of games will be changed for Serbia in the middle of the game. And we said, okay, that's the fact, we will accept that, we are fostering our reforms, we are completely ready in this moment for 2 clusters, meaning cluster 3, this is inclusive growth and competitiveness, and very charming cluster 4, green agenda, digitalization and sustainable interconnectivity. So we are ready, and of course delivering in parallel on constitutional reforms, judiciary, independence of judiciary, and all other important, I don't want maybe now to widen this story, but all these rule of law criteria. And I really think that it would be crucial, and believe me, as much as I'm lobbying for opening cluster of Serbia, I'm lobbying as a Minister for EU integration from Serbia for opening accession negotiations for North Macedonia and Albania as well. Because that's the point, to have something to show that new methodology is alive, that someone really appreciates all reforms that we are delivering, so we are not stuck in the process. Because I feel that we work a lot. So in Serbia, nothing is stuck when it comes to the reforms. But when it comes to the procedures and the concrete steps in the accession process, nothing happens. Not only for Serbia, nothing happens for anyone from the region. And just one word for the Open Balkan initiative. We often hear some kind of criticism because the question was, why now you need another regional initiative? It's an overlapping and it is the same goals, etc. But this initiative came jointly by prime ministers of Albania, Serbia, and North Macedonia, which means that it is based on the trying to reach and to increase mutual trust. Just a short, brief comment on the Open Balkan initiative, because I don't understand so much talking about that, to be honest, because Tanya explained rightly that it was 47 initiatives. Now we have 17 regional initiatives, and you can imagine how much they are overlapping in some particular aspects, in some particular political, economical, social issues, etc. But it doesn't mean that other channels for any other new challenge for communication is a healthy way to talk, to cooperate, and to find proper solution. And I wouldn't see that as some kind of attempt to endanger or to neglect all other initiatives. And I'm very sorry that someone is interpreting this initiative in such a way. I really think that we are very often, that there are actually very often overstated narrative about the problems in the Western Balkan and the history of Balkan as general, because Europe as a continent and European Union as well has proven that are really resourceful crisis-producing power. So it's not only about the Western Balkan. And we are overstating the problems in the Western Balkan. They exist. They are part of not solved all problems, but it doesn't mean that EU and the rest of the European continent is not resourceful about the crisis as well. So the goal is to make this crisis be solved in a proper way, in a proper manner. That was the goal for EU membership, that was the goal of European Union. And beside that, economic progress, prosperity, etc. And just one very important word about the regional policy and cohesion policy, because we all, as a candidate and potential candidates, we are now in a phase preparing ourselves for, let's say, potentially smooth transition to cohesion policy and to structural funds. One of the very important instruments that Carolina mentioned as an IPA-free new perspective provides also as last perspective IPA 2 2014-2021 a lot of European Union funds for the cross-border cooperation. So we have a lot of programs. For example, Serbia, we have program with Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, Croatia, North Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro. So we have 7 programs already for last 10 to 12 years, participating with local communities, regions, with each other by the European funds. And this is something that improves people-to-people diplomacy. And that is the most important added value. By the way, for the first time in Serbia, we have more than 45% of people knowing that the EU is the biggest donor, and they know for some project financed by the EU funds.
Thank you. This is a really huge progress, also concerning